Hello, hello. Welcome back to some Meakashi chapter 11, part 2. It's gonna be a good day. I was again blessed with a. Oh, wait, it didn't show. Wait. It's another cicada in the morning, chilling on my window for 2 hours. So that was cool. I mean, if that pops up, there's no way I can't record today, right? I mean, it's not like cicadas are super rare in Canada. Obviously, you don't see them a lot. I heard the cries of one, the one singular one, um, but but you don't maybe I see one or two per summer. So and this summer I've seen two on my window, which is super rare. I've never seen one on my window before, so it's a sign. All right, get out of here, buddy. Thanks for blessing me. Oh no no no! Almost removed the wrong thing. Get out of here. Second point, just because it's kind of come up in the comments, about my Rena theory. I did think about it a bit more. I still love it. I still think it's the answer. Though we will just go over it again because it is coming pretty close to when we should see some action in it. Otherwise, we might need to revise it a bit. And the theory is basically that um, since the Sonozaki who survived has no way of killing Keiichi because it's not possible, then it had to be someone else. And then I thought it was Rena because the Sonozaki who stabbed Keiichi had blue eyes when neither of his sisters had blue eyes. It's different than when their eyes turn dull. It's literally changing the color, which we haven't seen before. And the only person with a similar stature would be Rena. I could go more in depth with that, but I think that's good enough. Obviously, we're just gonna say Shion now because I'm again still 95% sure. Who knows what can happen, but obviously Shion couldn't do it because she committed suicide or fell from her apartment almost the same time as Keiichi. I know in the past someone argued well, she still had enough time. I'm like, no, I checked. It specifically said that around the same time, and we did get that hint in Watanabe about time when Mion was pretending to be Shion and gave Keiichi a lunch. Obviously, that was about time because Keiichi got the call from Shion, who came and gave him his lunch 15-20 minutes later, which is impossible if she came from Okonomiya. Because it takes at least an hour or a bit. Thanks to Val Hunter, I think he was the one who helped me see that. So yeah, it's just literally impossible. So it has to be someone else, and then the short list of culprits is pretty short. I guess that's why it's called a short list. I mean, again, blue eyes, Rena, same stature. I doubt colored contacts are a thing, but who knows? I mean, the only other culprits are what? Blah blah. Takano's. I guess she's MIA in this story. Um, Chia, if you're really desperate, somebody. I mean, that's about it, huh? But the good thing, I'm just bringing this up also because when I was thinking about it, I actually found another point that points to Rena a bit. It's not really evidence; it's more of a keen observation. And I didn't check back to see how exactly this conversation went. But I think after the big incident and before the stabbing, Keiichi and Rena talked a bit, and the topic of Keiichi moving away from Hinamizawa came up, and Rena wished him good luck or whatever, and just gave him a farewell, which is super suspicious when you look at Rena's character, who well, I wouldn't who freaks out when people are leaving. She says you'll get cursed if you leave the village, but she seemed perfectly fine with that, which could be a point to Rena knew something was going to happen to Keiichi, or Rena was going to commit the thing against Keiichi. So you can take it both ways, but I think that adds some suspicion points to Rena. The only real, like, the two revisions I guess I would have is that I was kind of basing it around Mion. But I don't think it matters too much if it is Shion. I just based it around Mion being the culprit because of the partner with Rena, because of that weird flashback we see Mion like asking Rena for help to get Keiichi's approval, which was like impossible because Keiichi wasn't there, but for some reason we saw that flashback like in the story, not in a hint, which was weird. The second one, which is a bit more, is like the theory does need the two characters to know of each other's existence, because not only when Keiichi got stabbed was the blue-eyed Shion, but in during the whole climax stuff, the blue-eyed Shion was also there, which means that obviously Shion had to know about Rena because they like switched places a couple of times, and it's not too weird. I mean, you could have again try to explain it with personality switch equals changing eyes, which is I guess a common thing in this, which might be what the author wanted, but every time the eyes changed, Keiichi wasn't looking at Shion. Like one time he was looking at Mion in her cell when he turned around, Shion was blue-eyed, and then the other time he was like bracing himself to get tased, and then when he like opened his eyes, Shion had blue eyes. So yeah, they kind of need to know each other, and it worked really well with Mion, because again we did see that scene with Mion and Rena, or Mion asking Rena for help. But if we want to survive and we don't see this help stuff, then the easiest answer to say is, which it's kind of a cop out, but it keeps the theory alive, saying that the personality switch was a signal of a personality switch during the torture scene, but during the actual stabbing it wasn't. And I know it sounds like a cop out, but the difference is that I guess it technically is possible for a personality switch during the climactic stuff because of the demon, the inner demon thing, but it's literally impossible for Shion to have done it in the other stuff, so it made sense for Rena to do it. And it's a lot cleaner, right? Rena could have done it by herself without Shion knowing. And yeah, so we have like a way to hopefully it doesn't come down to that, but maybe it will. If we need to like cut a bit of the credibility from the theory going down that route. But I just wanted to bring it up since it came up in the comments, and it's a fun topic. I really like that theory, so it's my new baby. I think I like it more than the hospital theory, which really had its high in Watanadashi. Definitely its high. It kind of fizzled down a bit throughout the arcs, but I still like it. But this Rena Shion theory is omega spicy. So, but without further ado, let's actually get started. And then Blessed by a Cicada should be a fun rest of the chapter. It's the Kimiyoshi stuff, so let's see how it goes. It goes with poor old Kimiyoshi, which I don't really care about too much, so I won't be too emotionally attached to whatever fate awaits him. The Heide's motorcycle had become my primary means of transportation. My next stop was the staff meeting at the Furude Shrine Assembly Hall. It was easy to imagine how a normal meeting would play out if it were just celebrating the end of Watanadashi. But today's staff meeting was likely going to be as strained as the Sonozaki family councils. Yes, this staff meeting was going to deal with the heart of Hinamizawa. I couldn't let my guard down, even for a moment. I rested for a while at the house, then left for the meeting. I walked up the lawn stairs to the Furude Shrine. At the top, I saw some elderly men smoking in front of the hall. Since they had a minor fire a long time ago, it had been made into a non-smoking area. Oh.
あれ、ミヨンちゃんかい。
Hello, Kimiyoshi. The head of the Kimiyoshi family, Uncle Kimiyoshi, noticed me and waved. He must not have expected Mion to come alone. Normally, it would have either been the head by herself or Mion taken along as an assistant.
バッチャは夕べのあれ以来機嫌を相当悪くしちゃいまして、誰も近づけず布団にこもりきりです。
They all understood how troublesome she was when in a bad mood. They smiled bitterly in sympathy.
じゃあ今日はミオンちゃんが園崎家当主代行ということでいいね。
I think this is also the day when Keiichi talked about the problem with Rita. Like maybe this is where Rita's going to try to fix the problem. I think. Maybe. I don't remember the timeline exactly.
一応。
What did he mean? Has Oryu-san told you anything? That line by itself didn't really explain much. The staff meeting was usually held by the mayor, the head of the Kimiyoshi family. And he'd asked me, as a substitute for the Sonozaki family head, if I'd heard anything from her. I then realized who was supposed to lead today's staff meeting. Yeah, of course, or you had to.
おじじゃなくて、君吉さん、今日の会合だけど、司会私じゃないと。
According to the ranking order at the family council, any substitute for the Sonozaki family head is above the Kimiyoshi family head. In other words, I'd have to lead today's meeting. There's no way I could do that, obviously not knowing anything, and she probably just wanted to observe the conversations. But leading, if she can be like very vague, maybe she could get the information she needs or wants.
大丈夫大丈夫。おじいちゃんがやるから。ミオンちゃんは座ってればいいよ。
Well, there goes that problem. Okay.
お嬢さんから聞いてる話があったら話してくれればいいからね。
村長、そろそろ始めますかいね。全員揃いましたね。
The smokers put out their cigarettes and went back into the hall. The tables were set in a horseshoe shape, and I was told to sit next to the chair reserved for the chief. The seat opposite mine was empty. Considering its location, it was probably for the Furude family head, Rika Furude. Okay, so she's not here. Maybe that changes things. Though, again, I did think, guess that Rika wasn't actually referring to, the Sonozakis with the talk with Keiichi. So I did think it was actually referring to Rena, so maybe she was actually confronting Rena about it. Who knows? It's a little spicy. I really want to see if there is a team up. It needs to be like soon. I want to see, say, before the Rika Satoko killings, but like just after it is also fine, I guess. But we'll see. But somebody had already said that everybody was already here. Either Rita-chama had called in absent, or the empty seat was just a formality. Or is it someone else completely? Woo. Knowing the subject of this meeting, I don't think that the Furude family head would even want to attend. Even if Rita-chama actually attended, she wouldn't be able to say anything. All she'd usually do at the Sonozaki family councils was draw pictures on a notepad. Adorable. She would probably end up drawing pictures in this meeting too, though Shion is obviously underestimating Rika-chama. Besides, they probably didn't want her to hear anything unpleasant. In this way, the empty Furude family seat was easily explained. When everyone was seated, the head of the Women's Association served tea. She gave me an evil look, trying to tell me to help out. I got up and did so. After that, everyone felt quiet, and the secretary stood up.
それでは皆さん、本日は大変お忙しい中、緊急にお集まりいただきまして、誠にお疲れ様です。それでははじめに、村長さんからご挨拶をいただきます。村長、どうぞ。
座ったままで失礼します。
I mean, I don't know if I'm feeling a close-up of a Kimiyoshi for the thumbnail, but if you don't have anything else, There we go. His last. I guess it would be funny if this is the chapter where Kimiyoshi dies. There you go, buddy. Take a thumbnail. I don't think I had you in a thumbnail yet.
ケンちゃんも座ったままでいいよ。今日は平日の夕方にお集まりいただきまして誠にありがとうございました。また昨日は綿流しを本当にお疲れ様でございました。おかげさまで本年も事故もなく大変な盛況のうちに終了させることができました。
Good one.
祭りにも村中から大勢がいらっしゃり、本当に素晴らしい祭りになったものと思うとります。来たの何人だっけ？大本営発表だと5000人だそうです。
It's a lot. Wah ha 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 ha. Everyone laughed except me.
今後もますますの文化の向上のために一丸となって頑張ってまいりたいと思います。
Well, I guess they wouldn't talk about it I guess that's what they were waiting from Ori, maybe like a signal to talk about it.
よろしくお
Or
願いいたします。
instructions. Clap, clap, clap. An applause with only 8 people doesn't sound so great.
それでは引き続き議事の方に入ってまいりたいと思います。本日の議事を君吉村長さんにお願いしようと思います。承認していただける方は拍手でご承認願います。
Clap, clap, clap.
ありがとうございます。それではただいま漫座でのご承認をいただきましたんで、君吉村長さんに司会を譲りたいと思います。
Thank you, clerk. Or your name might have been Ken. I don't know who he was referring to.
よろしくお願いします。
どう
God.
もケンちゃんお疲れ様。
Thanks, Ken. Lots of Kimiyoshi close-ups, huh? I guess we're right next to him. That's probably why.
本日の議事に入りたいと思います。申し訳ない。カーテン閉めましょうかね。
That's probably are done and talked about it, huh? Everyone closed the curtains nearest to them. The sun was still up, but with all the curtains closed, the room became very dark. The village chief explained the details of the incident as well as what went on with the police. A police vehicle discovered Tomotachi-san's body on its way back to Okonomiya last night. Tomotachi's death is always the same, I think. It's just Takano's death that kind of varies. Like, on Kakashi, they didn't find it. Watanagashi, they found it burned and confirmed. Or at least identified it as Takano. And in the fourth one, they found the body, but they couldn't identify it as Takano specifically. Okay. Oishi's special curse unit was standing by, expecting something to happen for the 5th time, so they responded quickly. The curse squad. Since Tomotachi-san and Takano-san were rarely apart, Oishi got in touch with the neighboring prefectural police department and asked them to look for her. As a result, they found a burned body of a woman in the mountains of the Gifu prefecture, and the body was then identified as Mio Takano. Considering the circumstances, the police ended up labeling the incident as the 5th of the ongoing series of mysterious deaths. When he finished, there was dead silence. I watched to see who would speak first. Nobody said a thing. Then I noticed Kimiyoshi-san looking at me. Ah, this is where the head of the Sonozaki family would speak.
ミオンちゃん、お嬢さんは何か言ってたかい?
Everyone looked in my direction. I was sure they could see the hate in me.
園崎家当主代行園崎ミオンです。
Well, you know, Shion does a good job of acting like serious Mion.
本日は当主お寮に代わりまして出席させていただきました。よろしくお願いいたします。
I became Mion. I tried to become as cold and as unfeeling as the Mion I witnessed a year ago. That cold version of Mion was inside of me. That was me. I was her. ...
不幸にしてお社様のお怒りは5年目にも下されることになりました。大変悲しいことです。
Everyone was held captive by my words. I wasn't a little girl anymore. The hate was speaking through my mouth. They all heard me and trembled in fear.
どうして今年もたたりがあったかわかる方はいますか？
After my question, everyone whispered to each other.
そう。西宮殿の金を犯し、土足で聖域を踏み荒らして汚れを持ち込んだからです。
何いうことだ。
A few elderly men got up and yelled.
あ、本当にが。信じられん小僧どもだ。
腹渡引き裂いても飽きたりんガキともじゃん。
お社様、お怒りをお鎮めください。
ナムナムナムナムナム。
なんてこと、なんてこと。お社様、お社様。
これだからよそ者っすか。
All the seniors.
なんも考えんねえ。ガクガクもないよ。さらんと。あれ吸ってらんこってなるね。バチ当たりどもんが。
The angry old men yelled even as they trembled in fear. Their sudden change scared me more than a little. Even Uncle Kimiyoshi, who was usually so gentle and sweet, became like a demon of war, cursing those who broke the rule of the ritual storehouse. Let's see it. Oh no, we don't get to see it. I want to see an angry Kimiyoshi. It had become like a raging ocean inside the assembly hall. Their yells spun about like a whirlpool. They roared, crashed, and howled. Even while doing nothing but watch, I could feel myself turning pale. Even while doing nothing but watch. That's not right. Even while doing nothing but watching sounds a bit better, but it doesn't sound right. Mion threatened me yesterday, and Kasa had been shot this morning. What I saw before me was similar to that. Even the sweet and gentle Uncle Kimiyoshi was saying they deserved to die. I was fearful of the sudden change in those elderly men. More than anything, the fact that they all believed that those people deserved to die for trespassing is what terrified me. It wasn't just that, of course. The real thing I was scared of was that I was one of the people they wanted dead. In other words, it was almost like they were telling me to die of the curse. If they were to find out I snuck into the ritual storehouse, it was very possible they would strangle me on the spot. Actually, they might not kill me that easily. By then, I was certain. The people in this room were true believers in Oyasho-sama, just like the head. They wouldn't hesitate to murder whoever made Oyasho-sama angry on his behalf. Even if they didn't carry out the killings themselves, they would pretend they didn't see anything. Yes, not even if my head was cut off right in front of them. That's true. I can see that. Obviously, they wouldn't acknowledge the killings if they were by a traitor. Everyone here would act in collusion and say I never attended today. If they'll testify and that they waited and I didn't show, I'd be demoned away. It would be far too easy for them to erase someone and have them disappear. There is no mistake. The people linking the hate and the curse were definitely here at this meeting. I continued speaking. I was Mion Sonozaki. I was on the side responsible for the curse. Therefore, at that moment, I didn't need to worry about anything. Nobody could tell the difference between Mion and me. That's what would keep me safe.
お静かにお願いします。
ほら、静かに静かに。
Uncle Kimiyoshi helped me to quiet everyone, but his tone was violent. He really scared me. Everyone gradually became silent.
西宮殿に忍び込んだ賊は4人。
Ooh. Why is she revealing this, though? Does she need to? I guess if somebody actually already knows about it, they would wonder why Mion didn't reveal this.
あと2人います。
Oh, she's revealing it to see who would be willing to carry out the curse, I guess. Made sense. People once again became restless upon hearing that, but Uncle Kimiyoshi yelled at them again and they settled down.
富武さんと高野さんは分別のつくお年だったはずですからね。お社様のたたりが直ちに下りましたが、もう二人は子供です。
Ooh, is she actually down a name drop? No, I don't think she's down a name drop Keiichi.
まだたたりは免れていますが、何のけじめもなく許されることはありません。
Everyone stayed quiet that time. They had all turned genuinely pale, trying not to miss a word I said. After all, they were all thinking that the Teds I mentioned could be their own relatives or even grandchildren. They wanted to know who they were to put their minds at ease.
その二人の老石者は、
Ooh.
園崎紫音、そして前原圭一。
No, my boy Keiichi, dude. I mean, this is smart to solidify your role as Mion, but god damn. I could feel the air getting drier. It was so dry it almost felt like it was going to start making a crackling noise.
園崎紫音はすでに
I couldn't even hear the old people breathe. I took a peek at Uncle Kimiyoshi, who was sitting next to me. He adored Shion as if she were his own granddaughter, but she had been demoned away. I wanted to see how distressed and sad he'd look. And when I saw his face... Oof. Inverted Kimiyoshi. Do we want that spice thumbnail? Possibly, if I remember. I felt a sensation on my back, as if my skin itself was making a crackling noise. He didn't even have an expression on his face. Uncle Kimiyoshi adored me. I loved him and I thought he loved me too. That was why I expected him to be saddened after learning that I met with such a cruel fate. What was I thinking? The memory of his warm smile shattered inside of me. There's no way of describing the fear I experienced in that moment in mere words. He had suddenly changed into someone I didn't even recognize. Uncle Kimiyoshi noticed me looking at him and spoke.
もう一人の前原圭一は
まだです。
I had to take a deep breath to regain my composure.
西宮殿を犯した4人、すべてにお社様はたたりを下されるでしょう。前原圭一も例外ではありませんよ。
Chilling looks, cruel looks, emotionless looks, shrewd looks, and the looks of people who were about to snap. I could feel the demons chewing my words while they stared at me with their sharp eyes. I could see some of them sticking their snake-like tongues in and out. I could see flames in some of their eyes. They were memorizing the names of the intruder and the curse had yet to fall upon. And so the meeting went on. We were told not to tell the police too much, to report what they asked us, and to hold another meeting whenever something of significance happened. If something unexpected took place, we were to get in touch with either the head of the Kimiyoshi family or the head of the Sonozaki family for instructions on what to do. With closing remarks, the meeting was over. Well, Kimiyoshi, I mean, I guess now Shion probably won't feel too bad about Kimiyoshi being killed after what happened. Made sense. It was already getting dark outside. Being in a valley surrounded by the mountains, once the sun went down in Hinamizawa, it got dark quickly. Even if it was hot during the day, it cooled down quickly at night. The elderly people said goodbye to each other and left on their bicycles, on their motorcycles, or in their cars. Uncle Kimiyoshi waved them goodbye and started to head home himself. I called out to him.
君吉さん、この後ご予定はありますか?
Well, here it comes. I told him Kimiyoshi-san instead of Uncle Kimiyoshi. He stopped.
いや、何もないよ。
家へ寄ってもらえませんか？
お嬢さんが呼んでるのかい？
はい。直接会って話したいことがあるんだとか。
じゃあやるかな。
Well, until Timiyoshi arrived at the Sonozaki house, I'm ready, you guys. See how bad it is. If it won't get too violent. I mean, the whip thing was pretty gross. And this time Kimiyoshi's gonna be alive, so... Did I skip that? Until Kimiyoshi arrived at the Sonozaki house, he often came to the house to have secret meetings with the head, so he wasn't suspicious at all. I invited Kimiyoshi into the living room. I served him a cup of tea and told him I was going to fetch the head. I left the room and killed some time down the hallway. Gonna taser
バ
him?
ッチャ、着替えたから来るそうです。ちょっと時間かかるかもです。
No. Well, she probably wouldn't taser him after accidentally killing Oryu.
いやいや、ゆっくり待ってるから。
Uncle Kimiyoshi relaxed as he sipped his cup of tea. I sat next to him.
多分、シオンの話じゃないかなと思います。
Is she like measuring how much she cares about Shion before going through with it? I mean, if Kimiyoshi thought he was talking to Mion, I guess it's natural to try to be straight-laced about Shion, even if he did feel something different, which he might not. I mentioned my name and watched for his reaction. Uncle Kimiyoshi looked so grim. I couldn't even tell if he heard me. I decided to continue speaking until he reacted in some way.
シオンは去年がありますからね。
Was Kimiyoshi there? Thought it was a Sonozaki viewing party only.
北条家の人間なんかと懇意になるなんて。
去年は、爪を剥いで許してもらったんだったね。
ええ、3枚剥いで。
Uncle Kimiyoshi folded his arms and thought for a while.
シオンちゃんは今は
地下にいます。
様子はどうなんだい？
Uncle Kimiyoshi sounded worried. When I heard that, I felt relieved that Uncle Kimiyoshi was on my side. Well, sort of on his side. His entry in the assembly hall was just an
ずっ
act.
と泣いていますよ。
What if he brings him down and then I was about to call him Uncle. Then Kimiyoshi is just gonna go crazy at Mion in the cell, and then Shion's like, oh, let's torture him, I guess. Feel like that might happen.
ミオンちゃん、率直なところ、お嬢さんはシオンちゃんのことをどうするって言ってるんだ？
Sad, somber music.
具体的なことは聞いてません。ご存知と思いますけど、バッチャは怒りが度を超えると逆に無口になりますからね。
西宮殿に入ったんだもんな。しかも自分とこの身内がな。そりゃそうだろうな。
Uncle Kimiyoshi thought the head must be unsure of what to do with Shion.
おじいちゃんはシオンの処遇どうなると思います？
そりゃ爪3枚よりもっとむごいことになるだろうな。お嬢さんのことだから身内に甘くするってことはないと思う。むしろ身内だからこそ厳しく当たるだろうからな。
何しろ西宮殿に入ったんですものね。それは許されないことでしょうね。
さすがにな。西宮殿はな。
でもシオンもかわいそうかもしれません。だってずっとひなみ沢から遠ざけられてきたんです。
Maybe she's trying to get... I mean, we'll see.
西宮殿
Let's
の
just let
親
it
信
ride.
性は知ってはいたでしょうが、そこまでいけないことだという認識は多分なかったんでしょうから。
確かにシオンちゃんは不憫だよな。
あたしかシオンか。背中の入れ墨を見る以外に私たちをどんな方法で区別できるというのですか？何もない。 ミオンとシオンなんて区別自体が何の意味もないのに。
Twins are proof of bad luck. I mean, I think it's been pretty clear that they have different personalities. I guess they have that ability to act like one another, but they can they feel different. At least now in this art. I didn't really care too much in the other arts, but such is the family precept. The Higurashi put her hands around my neck right after I came out of the womb. That's how the story went, at least. In the end, the Hei didn't kill me, but instead pretended I didn't exist. She forced herself to call one of us Mion and the other Shion. She adored Mion and hated Shion. My sister and I never understood why we had to go through that. We didn't care who was Mion or Shion. So one day we came up with an idea. We decided to share the joy Mion experienced and the sadness Shion experienced. We often switched places. We were both Mion, and at the same time we were both Shion. Adults around us tried to put different clothes on us or style our hair differently so they could tell us apart. That was nonsense. No matter what they did to us, all we had to do was switch places and nobody could tell us apart. But I mean, I guess they are, like, even though they have different... I mean, maybe the differences are just the way they grew up and they are, like, on a... I mean, obviously on a genetic level they are the same, but, you know, maybe they're super similar. I mean, they are, but, what I'm trying to say, right? Finally, they decided that we switched places because we were always together. On that day, Shion got to go to an amusement park. Since then, we've been separated.
ミオンちゃん、
私にはシオンがどういう処遇になるか想像もつきません。そしてどんなことに決まっても意見できる立場にありません。抹茶は身内であればむしろ意見を聞かない人ですし。
そうだな。お嬢さんの悪いところだよ。
シオンは園崎シオンでなければとっくに殺されていたことでしょう。死に準ずる罰が果たしてどのようなものか私には想像もつきません。殺されなかったにしたって多分一生日の光を見ることはできないでしょう。つまりは鬼隠しということかと。
ミオンちゃん、シオンちゃんは反省してるんだろ？
ええ。
In response, Santo Kimiyoshi tapped my shoulder and then slapped his own chest. He smiled reliably.
大丈夫。シオンちゃんがちゃんと反省してるなら鬼隠しなんかなるもんか。君吉のおじいちゃんに任せなさい。
本当に大丈夫なんですか？
そりゃあお嬢さんは私に意見されたら怒りはするだろうけどさ。でもおじいちゃんは引かないよ。シオンちゃんはしっかり反省してるんだから許してあげてほしいってちゃんと頼んでみせるから。
Tears began to fall from my eyes. I know Shion's probably gonna take it the way that Kimiyoshi knows or is involved with the Anukatsushi decision, so that'll probably trigger some Satoshi energy in her to torture him, huh? Or kill him. Or maybe. That's what I'm thinking. I'm feeling like it's gonna twist pretty soon. I knew it. Uncle Kimiyoshi was my ally after all. He said he would forgive Shion. He was my ally. I was so very happy.
本当に去年の北条聡君みたいに鬼隠しになっちゃったりしないでしょうか？
Be careful what you say, Kimiyoshi. Satoshi's her trigger word. Bad vibes are gonna happen. He's gonna say something bad about Satoshi and it's gonna not end well. Oh, I'm nervous, but I'm excited. Until Kimiyoshi smiled reliably again and told me.
罰当たりの北条家の坊主ならいざ知れず。園崎家のシオンちゃんならきっと許してもらえるって。
That's not good. See ya, Kimiyoshi. You had a good run. badness. Huh?
北条家の坊主ってサトシ君のことですか？
It's unlucky. It's how could you predict it, Tamiyoshi? I'm sorry, dude. it's it just seals your fate.
去年の犠牲者の。
北条の連中は仕方ないさ。村を丸ごと売ろうとした売国と同然の奴らだ。そういう奴らなら鬼隠しだってありえるだろうけど、そりゃあ北条家だからの話だよ。
Ha ha ha. Or more ha
北条家の連中
ha.
は一族老頭みんな呪われて当然だ。
I mean, I kind of expected Tamiyoshi to have these feelings. We just seen all the reactions in the meeting. You know, old people that worship Oyasho-sama are gonna be super traditional about this stuff. Just he wouldn't forgive the Hojos like Oryu does.
鬼隠しに会うのはそういう連中なんだから。
Only bad people.
だからしおんちゃんは大丈夫。大丈夫なんだよ。
おじいちゃん。でもサトシ君は去年シオンがけじめをつけたから見逃してもらえることになったんじゃないの？
けじめ？なんの？
ほら爪を3枚剥いだじゃないですか。葛西さん、吉郎おじさん、それからサトシ君で3人分3枚。
え？3枚ってそういう意味だったのかい？
Huh? What?
あの3枚はそういう意味じゃなかったんですか？
いや、合ってるよ。関わった人間が3人だから3枚の爪でけじめとしたんだよ。そう私も聞いてるよ。でも葛西さん、吉郎さん、それからしおんちゃんで3枚だと聞いてたよ。
Dun dun dun. What? Not dramatic and oh my god. Eh? What? Huh? Eh? What? I endured excruciating pain. The first one was my left pinky, then the ring finger, and then the middle finger. The people held me down so I couldn't move, but I endured. I had to endure 3 nails. I didn't know which nail was for Satoshi-kun. If my middle finger was for Satoshi-kun, I'd have to endure until the middle finger was done so that Satoshi-kun would be forgiven. That was why I endured. Even Mion said afterwards, everything was forgiven. Huh? 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 Mion, didn't you say Satoshi-kun was forgiven? Didn't you? That's what I heard. I think that's what I heard. Or did I? Eh? Eh? Huh? I felt the air move. Oh no, this is gonna be the biggest explosion we've seen so far, isn't it? There shouldn't have been a breeze in that room, but I felt it anyway. The cool air stroked the back of my neck. That was when my true self stood right behind me and nodded. Although there was no wind, my hair bellowed. The burning wickedness buried deep inside my eyes became visible.
どうして北条サトシ君は鬼隠しにあったのでしょう？
え？
サトシ君のご両親は確かに村を売ろうとしました。お社様のたたりがあったのは当然です。でもサトシ君はその両親の子供であっただけ。そのサトシ君にどんな罪が？
ミオンちゃん？
サトシ君にどんな罪があったのかと尋ねています。あなたはさっき罰当たりな北条家の坊主なら鬼隠しにあっても当然と言いました。鬼隠しにあっても当然などんな罪があったのかと聞いているのです。
I'm already getting chills and it hasn't even started yet, huh? The vibes, the vibes. Kimiyoshi didn't know what to say to the sudden question. He seemed dismayed.
聞かずともわかります。園崎お涼が決めたのです。お社様のたたりが及ぶのは北条の姓を持つすべての人間と決めたから。
Oh, for the general. I think for the... Yeah, for the general, but not exactly for Satoshi, I think.
待ってみやんちゃん。別にそういうことが決まってるわけじゃない。
決めたわけではないのですか？
そうだよ。北条家にはお社様のたたりがいずれ下る。そういう話をおぼろげにしたことはあっても、そんなにはっきりとしたことを言及したことは一度もないし、誰もしてないよ。
ではさっきあなたが口にした北条の坊主ならという言葉は何を根拠に出たものなのですか？
Sorry, I thought, you know, should have popped up earlier. They were already on that part of the sentence.
ごめんよみやんちゃん。あれは言い過ぎたよ。謝る。
Kimiyoshi's already feeling the bad energy.
そういうことです。北条家なら何があってもたたり。北条の名を冠していればどうなろうが知ったことではないというそういう考えが蔓延していることが問題なのです。サトシ君に罪があろうがなかろうが北条という姓があればそれで汚らわしい。そういう考えが蔓延していることが問題なのです。そしてあなたはその蔓延でいぶされた汚れた思考に汚染された迷信盲信。許せない。お前のような存在が許せない。お前のような奴がサトシ君たち一家を追い詰めてあんなにもすり減らしてサトシ君がかわいそう。本当にかわいそう。彼が何をしたの？何もしてない。何もやってない。ただ北条であっただけ。それにどんな罪が罰がたたりが呪いがどうして降りかからねばならなかったのか。一体サトシ君に何の罪があったというのか。
I like that. That was fun. That was cool. It's over. Wow. Kimiyoshi's upper body bent backwards and fell onto the floor. That was that. I put my stun gun back in my pocket. Well, she did get the stun gun, huh?
ごめん、シオン。今、なんて言った？
ゆうべ、高野さんと富武さんが死んだんだそうです。
Oh, don't skip this, bro. I want to see Keiichi's monologue. It's still one of my favorite Keiichi scenes. Give me that shout.
高野さんは焼死体で、
Don't you dare skip it,
富
Dame.
武さんは自殺みたいな感じで。今朝知ったんです。お父さんが親類の人からの電話で話してるのを聞いて。
As I thought, Keiichi didn't know anything about what happened after the festival last night. Was this when he learned about it? Did Awishi not tell him about it? I don't fully remember.
マスコミに報道されないのは当然なんです。過去にそうだったから。
Keiichi insisted that unless he heard about it on the news, it couldn't be real. But the investigation into the series of mysterious deaths are done in secret now. Of course he didn't hear about it on the news.
村長とか、あと園崎家出身の金バッジが警察に思いっきり圧力をかけたんだって聞いてます。
じゃあ、つまり、二人の死は秘密裏に処理されてしまったということか。
そういうことです。もちろん警察は捜査をしてますよ。でも秘匿捜査ということなので捜査活動にはかなりの制限が加えられているそうです。これは事実上の捜査妨害と言えるでしょうね。
信じられない。人が死んだのにそれが公にされずひそやかに処理されるなんて。
もっと噛み砕いて言うと、綿流しの夜に誰が死んでも公にはならないということです。
そんなバカな話があってたまるか。
ケイちゃん、私以前にお社様のたたりは村人が起こしてるかもしれないって言いましたよね。つまりそういうことなんです。このひなみ沢では毎年綿流しの夜にお社様のたたりということにして誰かを殺してもいい土壌がいつの間にか作り上げられているんです。
Yes, that's the truth about the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa, also known as Oyasho-sama's curse. Like, I don't hate this. It kind of goes with my idea of other people doing it. taking it as a freebie. Though I do kind of like a bitter person manipulating it, but not like completely like having it planned since the beginning, but sort of like pushing for it. But I don't know. I liked it. On the day of the Watanadoshi, 2 people will be killed. The perpetrators are using the curse of Oyasho-sama as an excuse to kill one victim and make another disappear. That's why the curse of Oyasho-sama takes place. That's what happens in Hinamizawa, and that's what happens with the curse. What Kimiyoshi said is all true. Infecting everyone with the idea that the enemy from the damned conflict deserved to die was the root of all of this. That was the system of vague commands used in the Sonozaki family, created by its head, Oryu. One thing that was mentioned about the command system is that the person giving the orders and the one executing them didn't need to interact in any way. Though Oryu was the commander, she never gave actual orders. She only had to expect something to happen. Every single one of the family council members around her would want to satisfy that expectation if given the chance. They didn't have to be proactive about satisfying it. They could be passive too. But when the chance arose, anyone who knew Oryu's intentions could potentially become the one to execute her orders. Therefore, Oryu would never know who actually executed her order, and none of the relatives knew it either. But they all knew things would conclude just as Oryu wanted, and they could assume it was one of their own who did it for her. This passive support system was thoroughly effective, and it spread all over the village. Its ties became even tighter after the dam conflict. Anyone could be the one to execute Oryu's orders. Therefore, everyone supported each other. If someone did something, then others would try to satisfy Oryu's expectations in different ways. For example, they'd come up with false evidence or otherwise passively interfere with an investigation. Even if they didn't know exactly who they were protecting, they'd still work together to protect whoever it was. Yes, I had finally figured out how it all worked. I mean, it's probably not true. It's only the 5th arc, Shion. We still have 3 more. Probably like 2 more. I don't know if the last arc's gonna be a meme arc like Uminato, but at least 2 more. Phrased in a more organized manner, it goes as follows. The system of killing of 2 people who are unwanted by the village each year required 3 elements. The first element was a region of solidarity. It was created during the long and unique history of Hinamizawa. The villagers' bonds became even tighter during the dam conflict. That was one of the conditions for this place to have a curse. It was an element that was already in the region, not one that could be created. The next element was having the same morale standards. This was a very important element, as the curse wouldn't have happened without it. Also, this element was created by Oryu Sonozaki herself, and that's why she could claim that the system was established by her own will. Having the same moral standards means that everyone, everywhere, acknowledges the same enemy. Even when someone in the village joined together, it would be meaningless if they all didn't know exactly who the enemy was. During the dam conflict, Oryu Sonozaki made the identity of the enemy very clear to everyone. They couldn't just say that they were against the dam construction and that the government was their enemy. That wasn't clear enough. The government didn't really pinpoint who the enemy was. But Oryu made enemies out of the construction site itself, and therefore its manager. She chose targets that the villagers could see with their own eyes. They were clear and easy to understand. The villagers acknowledged that everyone at the dam construction site was their enemy, and the construction site manager was the enemy commander. Using the same method, she labeled one after another as an enemy of the village, practically cataloging a list of enemies to put into their villager's mind. This is all very logical, and I agree with most of it, but I don't think Oryu would label the Furude head and his wife as victims of the curse. Like, obviously, if she wants to keep the tradition going, she could, but it seems like the other ones make a lot more sense. They actually were an act of betrayal, but it seemed like the Furude family were pretty much loyal to the Sonozaki, so it seems almost like a waste. So that's where I kind of want to disagree, where everyone's just following Oryu's markings, I guess, for the curse. Earlier, I used the term infecting for this phenomenon. Those infected by this idea were the people unconsciously giving orders to commit the murder. When the infection spread across the village, when all of Hinamizawa's residents acknowledged the same enemy, that's when Hinamizawa itself became a murderer. Or you combine those two elements, a solitary region, and having the same moral standards, then selected the enemy and spread that notion throughout the village. The law would normally have punished both the one who committed the crime and the one who gave the order, but Oryu's system didn't require an order at all. Oryu just had to become concerned about the enemy she had pre-selected. But that alone wouldn't cause the curse to take place. Oryu's concern was like a safety device, and even when the safety device was off, the curse wouldn't occur unless there was a fitted finger to pull the trigger. The last necessary element was to set a date for execution, the night of the Wachanadashi, the night to venerate Oyashiro-sama, the guardian deity of Hinamizawa. On that night, the curse of Oyashiro-sama falls upon two enemies of the village, and they disappear. Everyone in the village acknowledged that as a fact. In other words, if the same incident took place on any of the other 364 nights of the year, it would be nothing more than a murder case. But it happened on the same night of the Wachanadashi. But if it happened, it would then transform into the curse of Oyashiro-sama. The idea that the villagers are allowed to kill their enemies on the night of the Wachanadashi had infected them. The villagers were the cells of this huge creature called Hinamizawa, and in each cell would be taught who the enemy was. The set date was basically a green light for whoever was in the best position to kill the enemy. That was the truth of the curse of the Oyashiro-sama. That also, going with her theory, would mean that non-named characters that we know committed the murders for some of the things, or could have, which, I mean, I guess made sense for the first one, but I don't know. I did say that people who just dismiss theories because they were told is wrong, so I'm obviously not dismissing it. And I'm sure there is truth to it. I really like how solid this sounds, but it goes against some of the stuff, I think, because I don't think Oryu's the super mastermind. She's definitely the mastermind of the village, but I do want to think there's a bit more. Therefore, the one who actually killed Satoshi-kun isn't my enemy. The one who set up the murder system and the one who named Satoshi-kun's family as the enemy is my enemy. To use a broader definition, Hinamizawa itself and the very system of Oyashiro-sama's curse is my enemy. I already killed the head, the one who designed this system. Kimiyoshi, the one whose job it was to infect the villagers with the system, was already in my hands. I just had to find out who else was involved and how much. It was like pulling a weed while being very careful not to break its roots. I announced that Keiichi Mairo was one of the people snuck into the shrine storage. I was certain that the fat had already spread throughout the underside of the village. In other words, Keiichi Mairo was an object of the curse of Oyashiro-sama now. Takano-san and Tomotachi-san were found dead, having been killed in gruesome ways. That was the curse of Oyashiro-sama. In that case, they could demon away 2 more people as sacrifices to calm the anger of Oyashiro-sama. Also, this doesn't really work with, or explains Tomotaki and Keiichi's neck ripping out suicide, I think. If it's just rando villagers. The set date for the curse was already over. But just like what happened to Satoshi-kun, demoning away was allowed a little extra time. Something would happen to Keiichi Mairo within a few days. I'd wait patiently, careful not to let my enemy simply take Keiichi Mairo, my bait. No, you skipped the rant, bro. That's my favorite part. It's alright. I'll forgive you. Maybe one day I'll go back to look at that rant. It's still one of the best Keiichi screaming monologues ever. Unlucky. Keiichi had been yelling on the other end of the phone for some time. She wasn't even listening to it. That's hilarious. He kept yelling that he didn't want to go into the ritual storehouse to begin with. He claimed that he was simply invited by Tatono-san and me. Which is true. He shouldn't be in danger because of that, he said. He was feeling a sense of crisis and tension. This was going to work. The livelier the bait, the easier it is to spot.
どうしてくれるんだよ
That parts of it.
俺は全然関係ないんだぞどうすんだよ
How will you take responsibility?
どうすんだよどうやって責任を取ってくれるんだよ
Save the best part.
え
Thank you, game.
おい聞いて
Shut up. I've heard enough of your pitiful tears. I hung up the phone. There's no point in talking to him when he got like that. Besides, I'd already achieved my goal, which was to make him realize the danger awaiting him. I took a deep breath, then called the house of the village chief.
はい、君吉です。
園崎です。どうです？村長さんは見つかりましたか？
ああ、ミオンちゃんか。片っ端から電話をかけてみたけど、ダメだよ。見つからないんだ。参ったな。どこで油売ってるのかな。
こっちでも心当たりにいろいろと問い合わせましたけど、全然。バッチャにも相談したんですが、青年団を招集して探し回った方がいいだろうということです。
こんな時間にかい。それに別に行方不明になったと決まったわけでもないし。
綿流しの直後ですから、少し慎重に扱った方がいいとのことです。それでも見つからないなら、明朝警察に通報しましょう。見つかる見つからないは別にして、痛くない腹を探られない方がいいでしょうから。
お嬢さんがそう言ったのかい。
はい。直接声を聞かないと信用できないなら、電話先に出させますよ。
いえ、わかりました。青年団を集めて探しましょう。それで見つからなければ、翌朝に警察に通報します。
青年団の連絡もよろしくお願いしますね。私もバッチャの代行ということでそちらに参ります。
ありがとう。すぐにみんなを集めます。
ええ。では。
The youth group had gathered at the Furei shrine. They were going to try to find the mayor. I also had to go in absence of the head. Just to be mean, I stopped by the underground torture room to let the mayor know that I was headed to Furei shrine to search for him. Incidentally, according to the tab on the keychain, this underground torture room was actually called the Underground Storehouse for Ritual Implements. This was the man who was yelling that whoever trespasses on the ritual storehouse should be killed. Although it was an underground ritual storehouse, he was there now, atoning for what he had done. It was pretty ironic. Maybe I was the only one who felt that way, though.
君吉のおじいちゃん、お具合はいかがですか？
Clink? Kimoshi didn't say a word, but he made a noise with the chain.
今ね、村中でおじいちゃんの姿が見えなくなったって大騒ぎしてますよ。おじいちゃんの家から相談が来たので、青年団を招集して捜索を行うことにしました。これから行ってくるところです。
Was this mean, or what? Kimiyoshi could only make a noise with the chain. He couldn't even express any emotion other than anguish.
鎖、少し長くしてあげましょうか？私の質問にちゃんと答えてくれるたびに、そうですね。あと3個も長くなれば、だいぶ楽になると思うんですけどね。
Kimiyoshi's hands were tied behind his back with a tight wire. He was wearing a leather collar with a chain, which was strapped tightly around his neck, too. The collar's chain was on a pulley attached to the ceiling, with the chain pulling him up toward it. The chain was very short and pulled very tight. Kimiyoshi had to stand on his tiptoes to be able to breathe. Yikes. He had already been like that for almost an hour already. He was already exhausted. If I left him overnight, he'd probably end up hanging himself.
さっきは知らないと言われましたけど、もう一回尋ねます。北条聡君について知っていることを教えてください。ああ、ごめんなさい。喋りたくても喋れません？じゃあ、私とおしゃべりの間だけちょっと緩めましょう。
I turned the pulley just a little to loosen the chain that was pulling on Kimiyoshi's neck. Kimiyoshi's heels finally touched the ground, relieving the pressure on his muscles.
知らないんだよ、シオンちゃん。本当に知らないんだ。
サトシ君が生きてるのか死んでるのか、それすらも。
おじいちゃんは本当に何も知らないんだよ。
ま、ひなみ沢のたたりのシステムはそういう部分で機密性を保持していますからね。おじいちゃんが知らないというのもありえなくはないことです。なら聞き方を変えます。サトシ君がどうなってるのか、君吉家当主の立場でご意見を伺いたいです。サトシ君は生きてる？死んでる？
Kimiyoshi didn't know what to say. If he said he didn't know, I'd tighten the chain and leave the room. That would be like a death sentence for him. But all I said was I wanted him to speak as the head of the Kimiyoshi family. I didn't ask him to tell the truth. But he didn't know what to say to avoid souring my mood and to get me to loosen the chains around him. He was obviously trying to figure out how to make me extend the chain.
生きてるんじゃないかって噂を聞いたことがある。
ああ、新幹線で東京にってやつですね。
警察が東京で姿を見たというようなのを聞いた覚えが。
Oishi had told me Satoshi-kun had been witnessed getting on a bullet train heading to Tokyo at Nagoya Station. But the police didn't know if that really happened or what became of Satoshi-kun after that. Therefore, this was simply a random assertion of Kimiyoshi's.
ねえ、君吉家の当主様、呪われた一族、北条家の人間をわざわざ失踪なんていう凝った消し方をしていて、わざわざ生かしておくのにどんな理由があるんです？ないんじゃないですか？それに、その東京で警察が見たという情報ソースを教えてください。私は大石と一時期連絡を密にしていましたが、そんなのは聞いたことないです。おじいちゃん、私の機嫌を取ろうとしていい加減なことを言ったなら、かえって怒っちゃいますよ。
I reached for the pulley controlling the chains around Kimiyoshi, and that act alone sent him panicking as he feared them tightening once more.
ごめんよ。別にシオンちゃんを怒らせようなんてつもりはないんだよ。謝るよ。
私、ご機嫌取りの話なら聞きたくないんで。君吉のおじいちゃんにサトシ君のことを調べる協力をお願いしてるだけなんです。
わかってる。ちゃんと真面目に考えるから。
I took my hand off the pulley. Seeing that, Kimiyoshi began making loud, groaning noises to try to show he was thinking
ズ
hard.
バリ、生きていると思いますか？死んでいると思いますか？
生きてると考えるのは難しいんじゃないかと思う。
ですよね。生かしておくことで伴う膨大なリスクを負う意味ないですもんね。私だって同感ですし。
I really didn't mean anything too deep by it, but what I said truly scared Kimiyoshi.
警察はおば殺しの犯人がサトシ君で、サトコの誕生日プレゼントを買うために貯めてた貯金で逃亡したと、そう考えてました。この辺どう思います？
でもその犯人は確か麻薬中毒の危ないやつだと聞いたよ。
あれ、どう思います？私は私がこう言うのも変だけど、サトシ君がおば殺しの犯人だって信じてるんですよ。あいつは例えばばあさんあたりに買収されて仕立て上げられた身代わりじゃないかと思うんですけど。
それはおじいちゃんも思ってたよ。突然ひょっこりと真犯人でしたなんて言われて腑に落ちなかった。
やっぱり身代わり？
多分そうじゃないかと思うよ。
何のためにだと思います？
警察はサトシ君が犯人だと思って捜査を進めてたんだよね。サトシ君を鬼隠しということで失踪させておきたいと思うなら、警察の捜査がいつまでも続くのは面白くなかったんじゃないかな。
What Tomiyoshi's just said is very interesting. He's perfectly correct. If the police continued their investigation, it would complicate things for whoever demoned away Satoshi-kun. Therefore, the head came up with a decoy in order to bring an end to the investigation.
でもそんな犯人のでっち上げなんてそうそう簡単にできることじゃないですよ。
お嬢さん以外にはできないよ、そんなことは。
ばあさんが裏の世界で相当の力を持ってるというのは私も知ってはいますけど、そんなにもあったんですね。
シオンちゃんだっていろいろとダム戦争の頃から噂は聞いてるだろうし、中には実際に直接聞いたものもあるんじゃないかい。
During the dam protests, I actually saw them issuing orders to my relatives, like destroy their heavy machinery, or can we set up a checkpoint to blockade their construction vehicles? They set free their comrades from the police by coming up with alibis, destroying or forging evidence. I had seen relatives do those things, as well as the Haid calling in counselors to house the protest. As a child, I was pretty impressed. But when I thought back, it was more than that. She was truly the mastermind who controlled the underside of the world.
シオンちゃんだって建設省の幹部の息子というあれの誘拐事件の話は知ってるだろ
う。あれってやっぱ誘拐だったんですか？孫が鬼隠しになって高津戸だか矢河内だかの山奥で見つかったって話は知ってたんですけどね。
あれはお嬢さんの指図によるものだよ。ダム工事の中止の約束が取り付けられたんで、孫を釈放したっていうのはおじいちゃんたち旧同盟の幹部ならみんな知ってる。
Yeah, that was pretty much confirmed.
身近にいすぎて私がよく分かってなかっただけで、やっぱりばあさんとか御三家とか旧同盟って大したもんだったんですね。怖い怖い。
Kimiyoshi finally realized the situation he was in, and he was answering my questions. That made me happy, but the more Kimiyoshi told me the truth, the more I realized Satoshi-kun really was dead. That made me very sad.
サトシ君を鬼隠しにした実行犯は誰だと思います？
わからないよ。それに誰が実際にやったかは問わないのが不分律だったから。
He was right. That was how the system worked. And so, that was a bad question.
誰がやったにせよ大したものですよね。だって人を殺して死体も出てこないなんて結構簡単なことじゃないんじゃないですか？
誰が殺したかは別にして、例えば死体の処理をお嬢さんが手伝ったという可能性は考えられるよ。今いるここの奥に死体を捨てるための井戸があることは知ってるだろ。
ああ、確かにどこかの山中に埋めるくらいならここの井戸に捨てる方が絶対に安全ですもんね。
Whoever disappears becomes a sacrifice to calm the anger of Oyashiro-sama. That was the rule of this game. Therefore, the bodies must never be discovered. That's why the bodies had to be dumped somewhere nobody could find them. It's very possible that well was used for that. Then Satoshi-kun is at the bottom of that well? I grabbed a flashlight and headed to the huge cave with all the cells. As I turned on the lights in the cave, Mia noticed me and gave me a worried look. I ignored her and headed to the cell in the back. I was still very impressed by how the well was hidden. It was almost artistic. I shone the flashlight to the bottom of the well. I had no way of knowing how deep the well was. The light of the flashlight wasn't strong enough to reach the bottom. I inhaled, then screamed into the well.
サトシ君、サトシ君。
Satoshi-kun's name echoed again and again. It was obviously a very deep well. I thought of climbing down using the wedges on the wall. But with the flashlight hanging from my neck, I couldn't find my footing properly. And even if there was enough lighting, I didn't know if the wedges were sturdy enough. It would be like committing suicide. Satoshi-kun was at the bottom of this well. That's when I felt it. A warm hand rubbed my head, for sure. I'm trying to remember, they found 3... How many bodies did they find? Did they find 3? That would match up with the first 3, huh? That's true. Because I have doubts about the 3rd one, but for sure the 4th and 5th one weren't Oryu, I think. The first 2 were definitely her. The 3rd one could be her. Maybe it was her. I don't remember the exact details of the well, though. They found like 2 or 3 bodies, or 4 bodies. I guess they had to find 4 if you do all the victims, because Oryu was there too, right? Shion, you finally found me. Satoshi-kun, Satoshi-kun, Satoshi-kun. I've been looking for you for so long. I'm sorry I couldn't find you while you were still alive. Sorry, I'm sorry. It's not your fault, Shion. There was nothing you could have done before I was killed. But you did everything you could to do after I was dead. Satoshi-kun, I want to join you. I'm coming right now. I'm going to jump, so please catch me. Satoshi-kun smiled bitterly. I was saddened to see him reject me. Shion, I'm happy that you found me. But you are alive, Shion. It's so important to be alive. You can't waste it. If you aren't here, I don't want to live. I want to be with you, Satoshi-kun. I want to be close to you. I want you to rub my head again. I want to spend time with you. I'll be a good girl. I want to be with you. Live. Do I have to? Live and enjoy your life, okay? What's so fun about living alone? You'll find out. So long as you're alive.
生きる。生きるよ。生きる。
The eerie well now felt warm. I wasn't allowed to go to the bottom, but the edges of this well was the place where you and I could meet. Chapter end? Probably. Nope. Really? Okay. We're going for the long haul, huh?
サトシ君、見つけた。井戸の底なんだね。そうだと。そこしかないもん。
Mian started to sob.
ミオンはサトシ君が殺されるところには居合わせなかったんだよね。うん。もし居合わせたらサトシ君を許してもらえるようばあさんに意見してくれたかな。絶対にする。せめて命だけはって。嘘だ。え嘘だー
On that day, a year ago, I had just recalled how cruel Mian was then when she forced me to rip out my nails, acting in her role as the successor. Even if she was there when Satoshi-kun was killed, she wouldn't have stopped being the successor. Satoshi-kun was brought to the torture room. When he saw Mian, I'm sure he thought she would save him. Even as he heard the family head read out his death sentence, I'm sure he looked at Mian and believed that she would save him. He believed Mian was acting that way only because she was with her relatives. He believed she would help him, but she didn't do anything. He was being strapped to a restraining device, yet she wouldn't do anything. Mian was cruel. Mian? Isn't it about time to help me? Ha ha ha, I see. I get it. You're with the rest of the family members, so you can't show even a hint of compassion. That sucks. Oomph.
サトシ君が意地悪オーバーのせいで追い詰められていた時から何も救いを差し伸べなかった。あんたは登場する素振りを見せるだけで助けなかった。見殺した。あんたがサトシ君を助けなかったから 追い詰められたんだ。私は救おうと頑張ったよ。彼の心の支えになろうと頑張った。あんたらがサトシ君のおば殺しをかばわなくても、私は彼のアリバイのために自らを投げ打って戦った。その結果が爪3枚なんて安いもんでしょ。でもね、それだけの努力じゃサトシ君を救うには全然届かなかった。どうしてか。だって私はシオンだったんだもん。シオンは南沢から遠ざけられていて、何からも戸ざまで何も教えられなくて知れなくて。でもあんたは違う。あんたはミオンだった。あんたは南沢のうちにいて、全ての中心で全てを教えられて全てを知ることができた。私があんただったらきっとサトシ君を救えた。私なら救ってあげられた。あんたがミオンになったからだ。返してミオン。もともとミオンはあんただけのもんじゃない。私のものでもあったはず。それにもともとミオンは私のじゃない。私があんたに貸してあげるようになっただけで、本当は私のだったじゃない。返せ、私のミオンを返せ。お前がミオンの外見をしているだけでも虫唾が走る。お前じゃなく私がミオンだったら、だったら
I hit the bars, I hit them again and again. Mian curled up fearfully in the back of the cell, as if she were trying to prevent the bars from crashing down onto her. It's not a chapter. Chapter end on that? Or is that a chapter break? Has to be a chapter end. Yeah, okay. Fun stuff. That was great. Oh, yep. Beautiful. Let's do the tip first. Tying your own noose. Unlucky Kimiyoshi. Though it's actually not as brutal, but it is pretty unique. I mean, unique-ish, but I liked it. I thought it would be a little more bloody, but this is good too. After that, I joined the youth group in search for Kimiyoshi. Oh, this is right after. I went down to the town's council phone directory and called to see if he had visited, and then had the group split according to the circular notice divisions and sent them to search the town. Everybody seemed to be assuming they wouldn't find him, but since I knew they definitely never would, it was just bothersome to me. Even after midnight, they were all so enthusiastically looking for him. I bore the sleepiness while yawning. Then I heard somebody whisper, "Last year, we did the same thing when Satoshi Hojo went missing. The youth group were looking for someone who would never be found, just like last year." I was yawning because I knew this. Last year, there must have also been some people who were yawning and grinning on the inside.
去年の捜索って何時に終わりましたっけ？
あ？北条んとこのサトシん時かい？ありゃ何時だったっけ？
午前の0時過ぎくらいには解散したような気がするな。
It was already 2 in the morning. Although they spent this much time searching for Kimiyoshi, they didn't do the same when Satoshi-kun went missing. After all, some people knew they wouldn't find them. They must have been sleepy. They must have said they should leave it to the police. Shit, I want to kill the people who said that. Good one. So this is Demon. This is the Demon. We've seen the exact moment where it took over. Very fun. I mean, I don't like to see Mion being bullied, but it's also just very fun seeing Shion all screamy and crazy and stuff. It's always a fun thing for me. Even if they skipped the Teichi thing, they left in like one of the good climax to that line. It's pretty funny how like Keiichi, after that, he thought he like hurt Shion's feeling when Shion was just annoyed at him. But yeah, fun stuff here. So Kimiyoshi is still alive. I don't know how long that'll last. Obviously Shion is being logical at some points, but you can see it's extreme tunnel vision through like rage and stuff. So like while she was talking about her theories for how the curse murders happened, like some of it made sense. you didn't see her being very unhinged. Also, then talking about how, I mean, like I said, I called them interchangeable because back then, because it's really easy to see that. So I'm guessing we're gonna see Shion take over the Mion name because Mion doesn't deserve it because she doesn't use it right or whatever. I don't know fully, but I'm gonna leave it off here. Here's a longer episode for people, and next time chapter 12. This might be, I mean, it'll be exciting, but it'll also be pretty brutal, I imagine, because this is gonna be the Rita Satoto chapter. Yeah, and I mean, I guess like this like crazy Shion we're seeing, it is pretty similar to the Shion who kind of bursted out in Watanabe while holding Keiichi's ladder thing. So we'll see more of that. I like that though. That's fun. I love crazy screaming monologues like that. So, yep. Thank you for watching. Next time we'll get to chapter 12. Hopefully it will be. I mean, I'm sure it'll be just as exciting. But yeah, see you then. Have a great day, night, whatever. And yeah, bye for now.